Hi preschool, Miss Holokai here. I wanted to read you another book about pumpkins, since we're learning about pumpkins this week and how pumpkins grow. So remember, it starts out as a tiny seed, and you put it in the dirt and you give it water and sunlight and air, and then it starts to grow and a sprout comes up, little itty bitty bitty plant. And then it starts to grow some more and it becomes a vine. This long windy stem with all these leaves on it. And then a yellow flower grows on the vine. And just like with an apple, underneath that flower, once the flower dies, the pumpkin starts to grow. And it's a baby pumpkin and it's green. And it's green for a while. And then all of a sudden when it gets really big, it turns orange and then it's ready to be picked in the pumpkin patch. So our story today is called The Pumpkin Book by Gail Gibbons. She wrote the words and she did the illustrations. Pumpkins come in all shapes and sizes. Ooh, I even like the tall ones, tall skinny ones. Pumpkins are members of the squash family. There are many different kinds of pumpkins. Small pumpkins, big pumpkins, round pumpkins, tall pumpkins. Gardeners and farmers call them pumpkin varieties. Some pumpkins have a smooth skin and others have lots of bumps. So look, this one is called Dill's Atlantic Giant. And this one's called Jack B. Little. And this one's called Connecticut Field, Baby Bear, Lumina, Big Max, Small Sugar Pie, Trick or Treat, and Red October. That's a bumpy one. In the springtime, when the sun's rays begin to warm the soil, it is planting time. Some gardeners turn the soil to get it ready to plant a small pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch is where pumpkins are grown. So they have to clear a spot out. They have to take all the grass out and dig up the dirt. Some farmers use their plows to slice through and turn over the dirt. The field will eventually be a huge pumpkin patch. So that digs up the dirt. Because you can't have hard-packed dirt. You have to have loose dirt. The soil is ready. It's time to plant the pumpkin seeds. The beginning of a pumpkin is curled up inside each pumpkin seed. Food is stored there too. The seed has a seed coat on the outside to protect it. The bigger the seed, the bigger the variety of pumpkin that will grow. So look at that. That hard shell is called a seed coat. And here's food for the seed. And then there's the beginning of the pumpkin. Isn't that neat? Sometimes pumpkin seeds are planted in rows. Other times they are planted in small circular areas called hills. Several shallow holes are poked into the hill, and one pumpkin seed is dropped into each hole and covered with dirt. Each hill should be about 3 feet to 6 feet apart to give the plants lots of room to grow. So you can't plant them too close together. A pumpkin seed won't sprout until the dirt is warm and water has soaked the seed to soften the coat. Once the seed coat breaks open, a root begins to grow down into the soil. It takes in water and minerals from the soil for food. So there are those roots starting to grow. So that means even when you plant a seed and you're like, Mom, it's not growing yet, there's stuff going on underneath that you can't see. After about 1 week, the leaves appear where each pumpkin seed was planted. These smooth leaves are called seed leaves. They begin to make more food for the plant from the sunlight and air. After a few days, small pumpkin vine leaves appear. These leaves look different. They are prickly and have rough, jagged edges. More new vine leaves grow. Stems begin to grow and twist, crawling along the ground as they become vines. I love that. That's so cool how that they grow and they twirl around. The vines grow thicker and thicker. They grow curly tendrils that wrap themselves around other parts of the plant to help spread the vines. Gold-colored flowers begin to bloom. So there are those flowers, those blossoms. A pumpkin begins to grow when a grain of pollen from the stamen of a male pumpkin flower lands on the stigma of a female pumpkin flower. This is called pollination. Sometimes pollen moves from flower to flower when the wind blows. Bees and other insects help pollinate too. Pollen rubs on and off their bodies as they travel from flower to flower in search of nectar. So the pollen's got to get from here to here, and sometimes the wind blows it, that powdery yellow stuff, sometimes the wind blows it, but sometimes if bees and insects are going from flower to flower, it'll get stuck to their bodies and then rub off on the other flower, and it helps pollinate it. The female flower has a small green ball beneath its blossom. When the flower is pollinated, the little ball begins to grow. It is a very, very small pumpkin. So there it is. That's the little part that will become the pumpkin. It grows bigger. There's that green pumpkin. And bigger and bigger. The pumpkin begins to turn from green to orange. All of the pumpkins in the pumpkin patch begin to turn orange. In the fall, when the vines begin to dry up and die, it is harvest time. It usually takes from 80 to 120 days, depending on the variety, for a seed to grow into a ripened pumpkin. It is ready to pick if it feels hard on the outside and sounds hollow when tapped. So see that girl? She's doing donk, donk, donk. See if it's ready. Often shears are used to clip the pumpkins from their vines, leaving about 3 inches of stem. The stem helps to keep the harvested pumpkin from getting moldy. I didn't know that. So you don't want that yucky gray-black mold getting in there because it'll make it go rotten quicker. You want it to stay nice and fresh. During the fall, more and more pumpkins of many shapes and sizes appear at roadside stands and in stores. Fall makes people think of country fairs. Sometimes awards are given for the biggest, the prettiest, or the strangest pumpkin grown. The biggest pumpkin ever grown was in New York State in 1996. It weighed about as much as a small car, 1,061 pounds. At fairs, there are pumpkin pie tasting contests too. Whoa! That's amazing! And then you can make, it says how to carve a jack-o'-lantern. You have to cut the top off, dig out all the pulp, do eyes, nose, and mouth, and then some people place a candle or a light inside and light it so the pumpkin will shine in all its glory on Halloween night. Other people decorate pumpkins with paint, glitter, and other decorations. These pumpkins can last a long time because they haven't been carved. No two pumpkins are alike. They all have their very own personalities. All lined up on Halloween night, they are a glowing sight to behold. Isn't it amazing that all this began with a few small pumpkin seeds? Glow, pumpkins, glow! And there are the kids going trick-or-treating. The end. See you later. Bye.